Look, we finally have the first big rumor for the Philadelphia Phillies this offseason in regards to upgrading the roster for the 2026 season. And Dave Dombrowski is reportedly eyeing up the best second baseman in all of baseball to add to the roster. Yes, we're going to get into all of that right now because this is huge. First, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving if you're watching this. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy the weekend. If you're watching from somewhere you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, just enjoy your weekend regardless. But the big first update of the offseason, the biggest rumor by far, was dropped today from John Morosi of MLB Network, stating that the Phillies have checked in with the Diamondbacks on second baseman Ketel Marte. According to John Morosi, Ketel Marte is the best second baseman in all of baseball, and I don't really believe it's up for debate. Last year, 28 homers, 72 RBIs, a .376 on-base percentage with 64 walks across 480 at-bats, 64 walks across 480 at-bats, 136 hits, just 83 strikeouts, a .517 slugging percentage as a second baseman, and a .145 OPS plus. Just turned 32, 6 feet tall, big build for a guy at that position. This guy's a monster. If you've watched the Diamondbacks, you know Ketel Marte. If you watch a lot of baseball, you know how good Ketel Marte is. He's an unbelievable baseball player, and Dave Dombrowski seems to be interested. As of right now, the report that came out today says the Diamondbacks are actively listening to offers for second baseman Ketel Marte, and the Phillies and the Blue Jays are the two teams as of now who have reached out to Arizona as far as acquiring Marte or potentially acquiring him. This is insane, and this is by far the biggest rumor that we've heard. Now, I know if you remember last season, there was a bit of an issue with Ketel Marte as far as communication with the team and the situation that went on. I just want to dive into that really quick so you have the full story. This is from an ESPN article back in August. The All-Star second baseman apologized through an interpreter for missing 3 games following the All-Star break after flying back to his home in the Dominican Republic, a situation that had apparently been festering in the clubhouse over the past month. The 31-year-old said he initially expected to return to Phoenix immediately following the break, but was frustrated and in a bad spot after he learned his residence in Scottsdale, Arizona, had been burglarized during the break. The D-backs were playing a crucial stretch of games, fighting for playoff position ahead of the July 31st trade deadline. Arizona placed Marte on the restricted list for the first 2 games of his absence, and then he didn't play a third game after returning to the club. In response to criticisms that he takes too many games off, Marte said he has dealt with injury issues and is following a plan designed by the training staff. Marte has missed 33 games that year, the majority of which were because of a hamstring injury. Manager Torey Lovullo said he was proud of Marte for addressing it and showing vulnerability. That was just one little minor thing from last season, and I just wanted everyone to know about that because it was a situation that went on. But now we start to think about what would have to go. Once again, you look at these stats. This isn't a player you trade a few mid-level prospects for. I'll tell you that right now. This certainly isn't a player that you trade a bunch of mid-level prospects for. If you have a guy that has 167 RBIs with 64 home runs, 283 hits, and 130 walks with 50 doubles, and an OPS over 850 over the last 2 seasons, you're not trading some mid-level prospects for a player with those stats. He's only making around 20-something million over the next couple years. He's under contract with the Diamondbacks for 5 more years. It's around $100 million still owed, and there's a player option for 2031. Granted, we don't know the state of how Marte will be performing in 2031. If he's still performing like this, he'll definitely opt out. If he's not, maybe he'll pick it up. But this is Ketel Marte over the last 2 seasons, and you look at these stats, and they're incredible. He's the best second baseman in all of baseball. What would that cost? The Phillies have been hesitant to trade Andrew Painter. They didn't want to do it for Garrett Crochet. They didn't want to do it for multiple players. There were multiple guys that the Phillies were interested in, and the opposing team said Andrew Painter, and they said no. I can't imagine that's going to change as of now. Maybe it could, but if the Diamondbacks came to the Phillies right now and said, we want Andrew Painter, I can't imagine that this deal is going to get done. Aiden Miller, the Phillies really like Aiden Miller. The Phillies' hope is that Aiden Miller is playing meaningful innings for this team next season. Justin Crawford is probably going to be a starting outfielder in your opening day lineup in late March at Citizens Bank Park. Are they willing to deal him right now? I would assume so still. But with the lack of outfielders available this offseason and the situation with the Phillies outfield over the last few years, maybe the Phillies are finally at the point where they think they've developed and found an outfielder and they don't want to get rid of him. This would then lead to, and not saying he would be in here or not, depending on what prospects got traded, but if the Phillies traded for Ketel Marte, I would have to assume that Bryson Stott would go back to Arizona. I couldn't imagine the Phillies bringing in Ketel and keeping Stott, not because they don't like Stott, but because Ketel Marte is a better player. And there would be two players that play second base on the same team. Stott can play short, but you already have 9 more years of Trey Turner. What's the deal with Bohm? This is where things start to get tricky. The Phillies have shopped Bohm in the past few off seasons. They're probably doing it again this offseason. If they were to trade for Ketel Marte, I would assume Bryson Stott would be in this deal. I saw a bit of a hypothetical this morning, and listen, I would assume about 90-something% of you would do a Bryson Stott, Matthew Fisher, and Aaron Escobar package for Ketel Marte. I don't think that deal would get it done, unfortunately. I think a Crawford would have to be in there, a Stott, a Crawford, Fisher, Aaron, something along the lines of that. But the Phillies are interested, and I think that's a good sign for potentially what's to come in the rest of this offseason. The Phillies have checked in with the Diamondbacks on all-star second baseman Ketel Marte, and this could be a big addition to the lineup for the Phillies. What do you think? Would you be willing to part with some of these prospects to bring in Marte? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is a massive potential move that could reshape this entire roster. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and I'll see you in the next one.